1. Introduction. RAWSEP View. The United States government was on track in the Biden administration to reduce the prices for both clean energy heat pumps and clean energy electric cars. Trump tariffs are expected to upset those plans to prevent future air pollution and prevent climate change. The United States government should, instead of certifying wood stoves as safe when they are not safe, go forward with regulations that ban wood stove use and direct government money for use of forest refuse only. For home building and furniture building, for just a few examples of use of forest products for non-burning uses, it is well known from scientific and medical research that wood burning is a substantial source of PM 2.5 emissions, yet the wood burning industry uses the scientifically debunked theory named carbon neutrality of wood burning to argue that wood burning replacing coal burning in industry and in a trickle-down argument that wood burning should continue for home heating should continue. Presumably because it is called renewable, wood may be renewable in the sense that a tree can be planted in the place of a cut-down burned tree, but it takes centuries or decades for the newly planted tree to attain the stature of the cut-down burned tree. During those centuries or decades, photosynthesis, which converts CO2 to oxygen and so sequesters some carbon, will not take place at the same rate as photosynthesis was performed previously, and wood burning emits both CO2 and PM 2.5, and PM 2.5 is not absorbed by trees, so PM 2.5 is not diminished by planting a tree in the place of a cut-down and burned tree. In fact, a living tree closes its pores against the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as humans hold their breath in the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning. And when a tree closes its pores, the level of photosynthesis that absorbs CO2 pollution goes down. Wood burning emits 90% PM 2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lungs, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Contrary to many beliefs, wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Replacing coal burning with wood burning creates more air pollution in the form of CO2 and PM 2.5 than coal burning. This emission data comes from testing the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom, the Eco-Design Wood Stove and International Convention does not count the emissions from wood burning. The emissions from wood burning are erased from all countries around the world when calculating if each country has met its climate goals. This non-counting or erasure of wood burning emissions data from climate goals does not mean wood burning emissions do not exist. RAWSEP View. Purple air PM 2.5 monitors hanging from the eaves of the house of a near neighbor should be used to measure the level of PM 2.5 in the air hyperlocally in the yards of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners. If PM 2.5 levels exceed World Health Organization standards of 5 micrograms per cubic meter annually, then that evidence of air pollution from wood burning should lead to the shutdown of that indoor residential wood burning appliance, one appliance at a time if necessary.
Hi, my name is Lily. Andrew gave you the intro to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates and their concern for air pollution from indoor residential wood burning. Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, or RAWSEP, would like every near neighbor of an indoor residential wood burner whose wood smoke enters their yards and sickens the near neighbors to have a purple air PM 2.5 monitor hanging from the eaves of their home to measure the level of PM 2.5 entering their yards. That measurement of air pollution should be used as evidence of unnecessary air pollution, and each indoor residential wood burner should be shut down based on that evidence, one indoor residential wood burner at a time if necessary. The presentation by Andrew ended at 2 minutes 5 seconds. The same presentation by Emma starts at 2 minutes 3 seconds before the end of this podcast. So I am Lily, your timekeeper, and you can start the next podcast at 2 minutes 5 seconds in if you would not like to see the presentation by Andrew a second time. This presentation by me, Lily, ends at 5 minutes in. What you will see in the main content of this RAWSEP podcast will be news about air pollution from indoor residential wood burning and how that air pollution is being combated by ordinary people just like you who are unfortunately near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners at this time. There will also be news about unnecessary and highly polluting use of wood as fuel in industrial wood burners and preventable air pollution from wood burning wildfires. There will also be news about air pollution from PM 2.5 from gas-powered cars. There will also be news about airborne diseases which are also preventable with vaccines such as COVID-19 and measles and whooping cough, to name just a few. In 2025, Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates is also concerned with combating the Trump destruction of government funding for programs which protect human health through the Department of Health and Human Services, and Trump destruction of programs which fund the science and medical research plan to protect human health from preventable illnesses. Protecting human health is a patriotic act, and our defense against enemies is weakened if we are not as healthy as we can be. Heat pump rebates are now offered by the federal government, distributed through the eligible United States, are available in 2025 and are the best, cleanest, and now cheapest alternative to indoor residential wood burning if that burning is actually done to purportedly save money. Wind and solar as sources of the electricity that powers heat pumps and electric cars is also cheaper than burning, with the adverse health effects that are caused by indoor residential wood burning also come at a cost to near neighbors, both in shortening and ending their lives and in actual hospital, clinic, and funeral costs. Instead of being compensated monetarily, near neighbors should instead be able to achieve immediate relief by stopping indoor residential wood burning in their hyper-localized neighborhoods, which relief readings from purple air PM 2.5 monitors used as evidence of air pollution will help them achieve. Welcome to news about hopeful scientific and medical achievements that will also help us achieve the goal of clean air to breathe.
Web 57DHYAFZZFLWEFAB, April 23, 2026. Pick your wood stove air pollution elimination adventure. In Webisode 1A, United States, pick your air wood stove air pollution elimination adventure. 1B, United States, RFK, Junior Combative Defensive, and occasionally Contrite Kennedy walks a fine line in 4 days of congressional testimony. The health secretary sought to please the White House and his MAHA base. At the same time, 1C, United States Department of War Hegseth to the troops, we are bringing back the flu. Grab your cough drops, we are going to battle. 1D, United States, a retreat for the wealthy, called Campfire RAWSEP View Did. This retreat involve burning wood for aesthetic reasons? From the article headline, What I Learned About Billionaires at the Jeff Bezos Private Retreat for the Richest Men on Earth, everything is free and nothing matters. 1E, United States, a barbaric problem in American hospitals is only getting bigger. Patients are getting stuck in the emergency department for days while waiting for a spot in an inpatient ward. 1F, United States, the White House Correspondents' dinner on April 25, 2026. Why is Donald Trump breaking bread with the enemy of the people? 2, Michigan, what Abdul does not get about Trump, how Democrats can lose Michigan again. 3, Montana, Big Sky, crack up. Montana Democrats thought they found a novel way to win control of the U.S. Senate until the party faithful started fighting back. 4, Virginia Trump Gerrymander Blunder. 5, Ukraine, the Russian war against Ukraine. Main content. 1A, United States, pick your air wood stove air pollution elimination adventure to encourage the transition from wood stoves to heat pumps. At least 6 states offer incentives. California offers rebates for replacing wood stoves with heat pumps through the Clean Vehicle Rebate Project. Vermont provides incentives for energy-efficient heating systems, including heat pumps under the Efficiency Vermont program. Massachusetts offers rebates for heat pump installations through the Mass Save program, which may include wood stove replacements. New York features the Empower New York program, which provides incentives for energy-efficient heating upgrades. Washington offers the Washington State Department of Commerce heat pump rebate program for replacing wood stoves. Oregon provides incentives through the Energy Trust of Oregon for installing heat pumps in place of wood stoves. Check local programs for specific eligibility and details. Pick your air wood stove air pollution elimination adventure. 2, move to one of the 10 states which have sued the EPA to update wood stove pollution rules. Those 10 states are Alaska, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, and Vermont, and Washington. Heat pump rebates in order to replace air polluting wood burning for home heating, and heat pumps, which work down to 40 degrees below zero, can also function as air conditioners in these global warming times. Examples from 3 cold winter U.S. states: Alaska, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. Alaska heat pump rebates and incentives. 2026 Alaska heat pump incentives are region dependent. The ACES program offers $4,000 to $8,500 for 43 coastal Alaska communities. The Fairbanks changeout program covers up to $17,500 for replacing solid fuel heating, and utility rebates add $500 to $1,000 federal tax credits. Ended December 31st, 2025. The IRA funded Here in Homes programs have not launched. An online guide covers all major Alaska heat pump incentives available in 2026, including the ACES program, Fairbanks changeout program, utility rebates, and IRA program status. Minnesota heat pump rebates and incentives. 2026 federal heat pump tax credits ended December 31st, 2025. Utility rebates from XL Energy up to $2,600 with insulation bonus. Centerpoint $1,100 dual fuel, and Minnesota Power $400 are what is available now, plus up to $14,000 in Minneapolis City rebates. Save Energy Minnesota Here plus a $4,000 state rebate has not launched. This guide covers all major Minnesota heat pump incentives available in 2026, including XL Energy, Centerpoint Energy, Minnesota Power, Minneapolis Green Cost Share, and the pending Save Energy Minnesota program. Here is what is actually available. Pick your air wood stove air pollution elimination adventure. Wisconsin Focus on Energy offers $400 to $900 instant discounts for air source heat pumps. Statewide IRA funded Here rebates cover up to $8,000 for income qualifying households below 150%. AMI Homes rebates up to $10,000 are available at all income levels for whole home projects. Federal tax credits expired December 31st, 2025. Wisconsin was the first state to launch the Homes program. 1B, United States, RFK, Junior Combative Defensive, and occasionally Contrite Kennedy walks a fine line in 4 days of congressional testimony. The health secretary sought to please the White House and his MAHA base. At the same time, excerpts edited by Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The New York Times, April 23, 2026. He was combative, defensive, and occasionally contrite, he shouted at Democratic senators, accusing them of grandstanding and selective indignation. He insisted he had delivered historic wins for the health of the American people in the end. After 4 days of testimony during 7 separate congressional hearings on the Trump budget, health secretary RFK Jr. walked a fine line, trying to please both his base and the White House. At the same time, if there was any takeaway from the RFK Jr. Capitol Hill marathon, it was that vaccination, the topic that drove RFK Jr. for more than a decade and catapulted him to national prominence during the coronavirus pandemic, remains the defining issue of his tenure, even as the White House, for political reasons, tries to get him to deflect attention from it. The measles epidemic, which began last year in Texas and has killed 3 Americans, the first death from the disease in a decade, dominated the discussion. RFK Jr. repeatedly defended his handling of it, but appeared to back further and further away from his past criticism of the measles vaccine. On Wednesday, under persistent questioning, he made his strongest statement yet, saying that his department has advised every child to get the shot. Notably, he did not attribute that advice to himself on the whole vaccine thing. He is trying to backpedal and hide and duck, said a vice provost and public health professor at the University of Pennsylvania who advised Democratic presidents, including Biden and Obama, and met with Trump. The White House is clearly upset because his stance is not popular, but he has not fundamentally moved his stance on vaccines. Indeed, RFK Jr. also insisted that hygiene and sanitation and not vaccination were responsible for the drop in deaths from infectious diseases during the 20th century, citing a 2000 study as proof. Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, the Republican chairman of the Health Committee, who is also a physician and has tangled repeatedly with RFK Jr. on vaccines, pushed back, telling the secretary, He had cited the study out of context. Senator Cassidy, who voted to confirm RFK Jr. only reluctantly and only after the secretary made a series of promises to secure the vote of Senator Cassidy, seemed irritated by the RFK Jr. emphasis on chronic disease over infectious disease. RFK Jr. noted that 3 Americans died of measles over the past decade, while roughly 2 million die from chronic disease each year. But after the hearing, Senator Cassidy lamented the measles deaths, saying, "There should be a focus on infectious disease. We are a first world country, and speaking as a physician that knows this can be prevented, it grieves me." He said it grieves me. The senator himself is walking a fine line. He is facing a tough primary election next month. Trump has endorsed his challenger, as has the Make America Healthy Again PAC, which is aligned with RFK Jr. Asked by a reporter whether RFK Jr. had lived up to the promises he made, Senator Cassidy declined to answer. "We will talk later," he said during the hearings which began in the House last Thursday. RFK Jr. revealed that after firing or laying off close to 20,000 employees at the Department of Health and Human Services last year, he was now hiring 12,000 new workers to replace them. He told lawmakers on Tuesday that he needed to make sure that we have people to do every job. The about face was infuriating, said a professor emeritus of epidemiology from the University of Arizona and a founding member of Defend Public Health, a grassroots group formed to push back on recent challenges to public health. "We have lost so many exceptional scientists and other employees of HHS that just decades of institutional knowledge that we have lost is absolutely devastating," she said, adding the estimates are it is going to take a decade or a generation to rebuild the massive medical science juggernaut that we once had. Imminent cuts to Medicaid were a potent flashpoint during the RFK Jr. testimony. There are no cuts to Medicaid, he shouted on Wednesday to the Senate Finance Committee as Democrats insisted there were. The sweeping domestic policy bill that Trump signed into law last year is estimated to cut Medicaid by amounts ranging from $665 billion to nearly $1 trillion over the next decade, but starting after the midterm elections. But those are cuts to the projected growth of the program. Medicaid spending will still increase, but by far less than it would have without the legislation. The cuts are estimated to result in 7.5 million people losing Medicaid coverage by 2030. For according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, a left-leaning think tank, Trump RX, the website that Trump touts as offering Americans the lowest drug prices in the world, was also at issue. The site connects consumers with pharmaceutical companies that, after negotiations with the Trump administration, have agreed to sell roughly 80 brand name medications at discount prices comparable to those in Europe, but those prices are vastly higher than the price of comparable generic drugs. Senator Elizabeth Warren, Democrat of Massachusetts, called them scam discounts, noting that a drug that sold for several $100s on Trump RX could be bought for $16 in generic form. Last week, as RFK Jr. was in the middle of testifying in the House, Trump announced a 4-person team to lead the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. He nominated Dr. Erica Schwartz, whose supportive views on vaccines diverged sharply from the views on vaccines of RFK Jr. to lead the agency, prompting questions about how much latitude the secretary would give her. RFK Jr. told lawmakers he supported the nomination, but he refused to commit to accepting all of the Dr. Schwartz decisions on vaccines. "I am not going to make that kind of commitment," he said on Tuesday. When the Wednesday hearing was over, Senator Cassidy offered an oblique assessment of the RFK Jr. performance. "Things were illuminating," he said. 1C United States Department of War Hegseth to the troops, "We are bringing back the flu. Grab your cough drops. We are going to battle." Excerpts edited by Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Atlantic, April 22, 2026, WARFIGHDRS. "As a step to making sure we are ready for warfare at all times, we have decided to eliminate the mandatory FLU shot. Nothing says we are ready for war like we all have the flu. Get your hot water bottles. Get your ibuprofen. Not Tylenol though. It knows what it did because we are bringing FLU to the warfighters. Are you ready to have a runny nose and an ITCHY throat? Are you ready to get really seriously dehydrated and need medical attention? 4H. We will terrify the enemy by coming in hot. And when I say hot, I mean our temperatures. We will need cough drops, and we will knock those back. Crunch with a sound more frightening than gunfire. This will strike fear into the hearts of the enemy. They will say things like, 'Do you need a tissue? And are you okay?' And when they are offering us that tissue, we will strike. And then we will go back to bed and lie under a tactical pile of warfighting blankets." Peak performance is when you have a terrible headache and want to be asleep, and whenever you open your mouth you sound like someone took lawn shears to your vocal cords. 1D United States, a retreat for the wealthy called Campfire RAWSEP View Did. This retreat involve burning wood for aesthetic reasons? From the article headline, "What I Learned About Billionaires at the Jeff Bezos Private Retreat for the Richest Men on Earth, Everything is Free and Nothing Matters." Excerpts edited by Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Atlantic, April 20th, 2026. In 2018, it was a guest at Jeff Bezos' Campfire Retreat in Santa Barbara, California. It is an annual event in which the Amazon founder invites 80-plus guest celebrities, artists, intellectuals, and anyone else he thinks is interesting to spend 3 nights at a private resort. I had recently been approached by Amazon about moving my film and television business over from Disney, and although I had declined, or maybe because I had declined, the Bezos team invited me to Campfire, perhaps keen to impress me with the power of his reach. 1E United States, a barbaric problem in American hospitals is only getting bigger. Patients are getting stuck in the emergency department for days while waiting for a spot in an inpatient ward. Excerpts edited by Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Atlantic, April 22nd, 2026. In the last months, weeks, and days of his life, "I will not go to the emergency room" became the mantra of my husband. My husband had esophageal cancer that had spread throughout his body, and having trained as a doctor, I had jury-rigged a hospital at home aided by specialists who got me pills to boost blood pressure, to dampen the effects of liver failure, to stem his cough, to help him swallow, wake up, fall asleep. I will not go to the emergency room. Emphasis on not were his first words after passing out, having a seizure, or regurgitating the protein smoothies I made to pass his narrowed esophagus. Ours was a precarious existence, but I understood his adamant rejection of the emergency department. Most prior visits had morphed into extended trips into a terrifying medical underworld to a purgatory known as emergency department boarding. I managed to keep my husband at home while we planned for hospice until one dreadful night at 2 a.m. when I ran out of hacks. We got into an ambulance and headed together to the hospital. We had already learned the hard way that if you need admission to the hospital, you can remain in the emergency department in the hallway or a curtain bay on a hard stretcher or in a makeshift holding area for more than 24 hours, even for days, while waiting for a real hospital bed. In this limbo state, you are technically admitted to the hospital, but still located in the physical domain of the ER. In the summer of 2024, still being treated to keep his cancer at bay, my husband required hospital admission to rule out the possibility of infection or worse of the cancer having spread to his brain. After we went to an emergency department near our home in New York City, he lay trapped on a hard stretcher with its rails up for more than 36 hours amid the alarms and calls for the code team, without any clues of whether it was day or night, and with access only to the few toilets shared by the dozens of patients and visitors in the emergency room. 1F United States. The White House Correspondents' Dinner on April 25, 2026. Why is Donald Trump breaking bread with the enemy of the people? Excerpts edited by Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Atlantic, April 21, 2026. The annual White House Correspondents' Dinner is an awkward and ethically fraught affair. Journalists spend the evening partying with the president and administration officials whom they are supposed to cover rigorously and skeptically. It is typically crowded and a little chaotic, and the ratio of non-journalists to journalists is about 10 to 1. The evening is promoted as a celebration of journalism and the First Amendment. After declining all invitations to the event throughout his years in office, President Trump informed the White House Correspondents Association last month that he would be attending the 2026 dinner on Saturday night. The president will break bread with the same people he has spent a decade calling fake and enemies of the people. To Michigan, what Abdul El-Sayed does not get about Trump, how Democrats can lose Michigan again. Excerpts edited by Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Atlantic, April 22, 2026. Over the past 15 years or so, Democrats have won a lot of races because the Republican primary voters decided to nominate right-wing ideologues such as Christine O'Donnell Todikin and Carrie Lake rather than normal Republicans. In all of these races, the Republican establishment warned that nominating an arch-conservative would undermine their chances of victory, and was proved completely correct. Now Democrats finally have the chance to do the same thing in Michigan, a purple state that Donald Trump won twice. The physician Abdul El-Sayed is running a competitive race for the Democratic Senate nomination. If successful, he would turn a very likely Democratic win into a jump ball between himself as the Michigan Senate Democratic candidate. The Michigan Senate Republican candidate El-Sayed has followed the classic strategy of adopting positions that appeal to a majority of Democratic voters, thus giving him an advantage over more cautious rivals, but that do not appeal to a majority of the general electorate, which includes Democrats and Republicans. In the case of El-Sayed, those stances include supporting single-payer health insurance, abolishing ICE, and intensely criticizing Israel. At the same time, he positions himself as the most doctrinal left-wing candidate in the race, thus appealing to Democrats in the Democratic primary. 3 Montana Big Sky crack up. Montana Democrats thought they found a novel way to win control of the U.S. Senate until the party faithful started fighting back. Excerpts edited by Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Atlantic, April 22, 2026. A grain elevator manager on the eastern plains of Montana fired off a rocket this month to the private signal chat he shares with the 23 other members of the state Democratic Party executive board. He demanded that leaders make clear in newspapers across the state that the Democratic Party would support only Democratic candidates in the fall elections. The response was swift and not to his liking. The chair of the party wrote, "I will continue to move forward to get Democrats elected. There is no hidden agenda. The problem, the chair, is the belief among the grain elevator manager and many other party stalwarts in Montana that exactly such a hidden agenda exists, pitting national big money Democrats and maybe even some state party leaders against the state Democratic apparatus. This feud and skepticism over the role of outsiders in state races threatens to spoil one of the last best places for Democrats to pull a Senate majority from a difficult midterm map. At issue is Seth Bodner, a former University of Montana president who is running as an independent for the Senate seat being vacated by Republican Steve Daines. Bodner, age 47, is young, moderate, a veteran, a Rhodes Scholar, and all in all, the sort of person Montanans might elect in a year when Republicans are facing the prospect of steep losses amid the declining popularity of Trump Democratic megadonors, such as one of LinkedIn co-founders Reid Hoffman, the cryptocurrency investor Michael Novogratz, and the Microsoft heir Lori Gates, are all supporting the Bodner campaign, hoping he can yank the seat away from the GOP. Because Bodner is running as an independent, it means part of his campaign in Montana is based on criticizing Democrats whose voters he needs to support him. Even the candidates running for the Democratic nomination too are criticizing their own Democratic Party leaders just weeks before the June 2nd primary and seeking to make sure that Democratic Party bigwigs do not try to clear a path for Bodner to face the GOP nominee in November. One bright spot for Bodner and the Democratic Party is that Republicans in the state are in their own mess, confirming to many Montanans the stereotype of national Republican Party grandees being dismissive of local democracy in a state more libertarian than partisan, where abortion, recreational marijuana permit, less concealed carry are all legal. Democrats have had success here before. Montana Democrats claimed at least one, and often both, of the Montana U.S. Senate seats from 1912 to 2024 and pulled off a 16-year run in the mansion of the governor. From 2005 to 2021, in 2008 Obama came within 11,000 votes of winning. Then came the disruptions of Trump. Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris got about 38% of the vote in 2024, dooming former Democratic Montana Senator Jon Tester, who ran 7 points ahead of her and 7 points difference behind his Republican opponent. 4 Virginia Trump Gerrymander Blunder excerpts edited by residents against wood smoke emission particulates of 501c3 nonprofit organization, The Atlantic, April 22, 2026, when President Trump last summer implored Republicans to launch a nationwide gerrymandering blitz to pad their narrow House majority. The fight he started did not seem fair. GOP lawmakers had both the will and the power to draw their party new seats, while Democrats were hamstrung by limits of their own making. The question was not whether Republicans could expand their edge in Congress, but by how much. This morning the landscape looks a lot different after Virginia voters yesterday approved a lopsided new House map that could hand Democrats an additional 4 seats that Republicans currently hold. The Democratic redistricting victory is the second for the Democratic Party in a statewide referendum when combined with new lines that California voters endorsed in November. Democrats have now succeeded in drawing districts that will likely yield them 9 more seats this fall, at least matching what Republicans have been able to achieve in states that they control. By some measures, Democrats have jumped into the redistricting lead, bolstering their chances of winning back the House majority in the midterm elections. The battle is not over. The GOP-dominated Florida legislature will hold a special session next week to consider redistricting, and the Democratic victory in Virginia could help Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida win over lawmakers who are reluctant to press the Republican advantage too far. Officials in both parties expect the Supreme Court to issue a ruling in the coming months that will weaken, if not eviscerate, a key part of the Voting Rights Act, which would allow states such as Louisiana and Alabama to carve up districts now held by black Democrats. Such a decision would have an even larger impact in southern states come 2028. 5 Ukraine, the Russian war against Ukraine excerpts edited by residents against wood smoke emission particulates of 501c3 nonprofit organization, Kyiv Independent, April 23, 2026, a fire that resulted from a strike on Kharkiv Oblast on April 22, 2026. Kharkiv Oblast administration news: Putin ready to meet Zelensky, Kremlin official says. But there is a catch. While Russia has made it clear that resuming dialogue with Ukraine is not a top priority, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said Putin would meet with Zelensky under certain conditions, any format, at any time. Zelensky pushes to restart peace talks open to any venue, but Russia-Belarus wishful thinking. Ukraine rubbishes the Russian latest. Luhansk Oblast claimed 14 settlements in Luhansk Oblast are not under Russian control. The Ukraine military told the Kyiv Independent Ukraine returned over 2,100 Ukrainian children abducted by Russia. Zelensky says out of the 2,100 children, 150 have been returned to Ukraine since the beginning of 2026. Exclusive: Ukraine still missing billions in defense funds for 2026. Kyiv faces a defense gap of 19.6 billion euros, $23.1 billion this year, even after accounting for funds already committed and the 90 billion euro Ukraine support loan that is on its way. Ukraine war latest not put inland. Zelensky pushes back on Doniland Donbass proposal. President Volodymyr Zelensky said the key issue is that Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast remain part of Ukraine. When asked about a reported proposal to rename part of Donbass Doniland in honor of U.S. Trump, the U.S. President Trump and Putin have zero instruments to enforce backroom deal on Ukraine. XFM Kaleva tells Kyiv Independent caught between the Russian war at home and mounting geopolitical turbulence abroad, Ukraine is unlikely to see a major turnaround anytime soon, says former Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba. Climate policy becomes new front in Ukraine. EU economic tensions. The latest source of friction between Ukraine and the EU is climate rules and unhappy steel producers as the Ukraine membership goals collide with its wartime realities. Human cost of war: at least 4 killed, 79 injured in Russian strikes across Ukraine over past day. Russian forces launched 215 drones against Ukraine overnight, of which 189 were downed or jammed. General staff: Russia has lost 1,321,450 troops in Ukraine since February 24, 2022. The number includes 1,140 casualties that Russian forces suffered over the past day. The Russian war will not end soon. Dmytro Kuleba says international response: Spain to send ammunition, 100 armored vehicles to Ukraine. This collaboration serves as a testament to the commitment to the defense of democratic values, to freedom, and to a just and lasting peace of our country. The Spanish Defense Minister Margarita Robles said during a visit to Kyiv, EU envoys back 90 billion euro Ukraine loan as Hungary, Slovakia say Druzhba oil transit resumed. The news comes after Hungary and Slovakia said Ukraine had resumed oil transit via the Druzhba pipeline, with the first deliveries expected by April 23rd. Greatest threat as Russia arms for large-scale war. Germany unveils plan to build the strongest army in Europe. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius unveiled a new national military strategy on April 22nd in light of the Russian growing threat. It marks the first such strategy of Germany since World War II. EU optimistic about joining special tribunal to prosecute Russian aggression against Ukraine. It is increasingly likely that the European Union will formally back a new court with a mandate to prosecute the Russian leadership for the crime of aggression. A senior official in the EU diplomatic arm told the Kyiv Independent European Commissioner Kos calls on EU countries to fully open Ukraine membership talks by June. Everything is ready, so I hope we can start very soon, even under the Cyprus presidency for Cluster 1. The EU Enlargement Commissioner Marta Kos told the Kyiv Independent EU ambassadors back 20th package of Russia sanctions after Hungary, Slovakia dropped veto. EU ambassadors agreed on the 20th package of sanctions imposed against Moscow in response to its full-scale invasion of Ukraine on April 22nd after Hungary and Slovakia lifted their veto over the measures. Opinions and insights: why unilaterally surrendering Donetsk Oblast equals strategic and military suicide for Ukraine. The political risks in Ukraine are for sure important, but surrendering Donetsk Oblast to Russia is first and foremost problematic, both militarily and strategically. Today, the fortified Sloviansk-Kramatorsk agglomeration forms the core of the Ukraine defense system, writes Mykola Bieliskov, research fellow at the National Institute for Strategic Studies and a senior analyst at the Ukrainian NGO Come Back Alive. In other news, war in Iran has used up half of U.S. Patriot and THAAD missile stockpiles. The U.S. has run through over half of its stockpiles of key air defense missiles during the nearly 2-month war with Iran. Web 57DHYAFZZFLWEFAB, April 23, 2026 heat pump rebates by state where incentives available 2026. Federal heat pump tax credits ended December 31, 2025, but state and utility heat pump incentives still range from $0 to over $16,000, depending on where you live and your household income. Some states have launched IRA funded here and homes programs worth thousands. Others have almost nothing. This guide covers heat pump rebates in all 50 states, and DC in 2026 ranked by how much you can realistically get. Here is what is actually available. Last verified March 24, 2026. Rates and program availability may change after this date. The short version: states with strong rebates $5,000 plus 15 states with moderate rebates $1,000 to $5,000, 20 states with limited or no rebates. 15 highest rebates: New York, Maryland, Wisconsin, Colorado, Washington, Rhode Island, and North Carolina all offer $10,000 plus for income qualifying households through stack programs. Lowest incentives: Ohio, Idaho, South Dakota, and states that declined IRA funding have little beyond small utility rebates. Federal tax credits 25C 25D are gone for everyone. The 10 best states for heat pump rebates in 2026, ranked by realistic maximum rebates available to a homeowner installing a duct heat pump system combining all stackable programs. 1 New York, $5,000 to $24,000 clean heat plus Empower plus here plus geothermal credit. 2 Wisconsin, up to $18,900 here plus homes plus focus on energy, first state to launch homes. 3 Maryland, up to $15,000 Empower 75% of cost plus Potomac Edison switch to electric. For Washington, up to $14,000 plus here plus Puget Sound Energy plus utility stack. 5 Colorado, up to $11,250 here plus Excel Energy plus $1,000 state tax credit. 6 Rhode Island, up to $11,500 clean heat RI 60% of cost plus RI energy rebates. 7 North Carolina, up to $16,000 Energy Saver NC here plus homes plus Duke Energy. 8 Georgia, up to $16,000 here plus her whole home plus Georgia Power. 9 Washington, D.C., up to $9,800 DCSEU electrification plus HEP for low income. 10 Maine, $1,000 to $9,000 efficiency, Maine Triennial Plan 6, $529 million funded. Close runners-up: Massachusetts, New Jersey, Michigan, and Vermont all offer $7,000 to $8,500 in realistic rebates, and could move higher as programs expand. Federal tax credits are gone. The Section 25C Energy Efficient Home Improvement Credit and Section 25D Residential Clean Energy Credit both expired December 31, 2025. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act, signed July 4, 2025, repealed them. No federal tax credit applies to heat pumps installed in 2026. Full details on the federal credit expiration. What replaced federal credits? Nothing directly, but IRA funded here and homes rebate programs administered by individual states are the main replacement here. Offers up to $8,000 per heat pump for households below 150% of area median income. AMI Homes offers up to $4,000 to $10,000 for whole home efficiency projects at any income level. The catch: many states have not launched these programs yet, and funding availability varies. States with strong heat pump rebates $5,000 plus. These 16 states have active programs that can realistically cover $5,000 or more of a heat pump installation for qualifying homeowners. Most have launched IRA funded here or homes rebates have strong state administered programs or have both income qualified. Households below 80% AMI often qualify for the highest amounts. State status rebate range. Primary program notes: New York, $5,000 to $24,000 clean heat plus Empower plus 6 utilities DAC bonuses geothermal credit, best overall program. Maryland, up to $15,000 Empower Maryland 75% of electrification costs covered Potomac Edison switch to electric adds $4,000. Rhode Island, up to $11,500 clean heat RI covers up to 60% of heat pump costs. Strong per capita program. Colorado, up to $11,250 here plus Excel plus state credit here active $1,000 state tax credit stacks with $2,250 per ton utility rebates. Wisconsin, up to $18,900 here plus homes plus focus on energy, first state to launch homes here and focus on energy stack. Michigan, up to $8,000 MAHA here point of sale rebates for greater than or equal to 150% AMI. Ann Arbor, A20 adds $4,000 to $5,500. Maine, $1,000 to $9,000 efficiency. Maine, well funded through Triennial Plan 6, $529 million income tiered rebates. Massachusetts, up to $8,500 Mass Save restructured rebates are $410A excluded $500 weatherization bonus. New Jersey, up to $7,500 plus whole home plus utility rebates cashback plus 0% financing for utility stack on top. Washington, up to $14,000 plus here plus PSE here launched 2025. PSE offers up to $4,000 for duct systems. North Carolina, up to $16,000 Energy Saver NC here plus homes live statewide. Duke Energy adds $500 to $1,000. Georgia, up to $16,000 here plus her here up to $8,000 her whole home up to $16,000 for greater than or equal to 80% AMI. Indiana, up to $8,000 plus Indiana Energy Saver here the here and homes both active utility rebates add $275 to $3,000. Arizona, up to $8,000 efficiency. Arizona here the here for greater than or equal to 150% AMI. SRP Cool Cash adds $1,125 APS eliminated rebates. Washington, D.C., up to $9,800 DCSEU electrification up to $5,000 for heat pumps plus $3,200 electrification service rebates. Vermont, up to $7,950 efficiency VD plus Bed Burlington Electric pays up to $7,950 for income qualified duct systems. Best overall programs: New York, Maryland, Wisconsin, and Colorado stand out for having the deepest stacking multiple program layers that combine to cover a large share of project costs. Income-qualified households in these states can often get a heat pump system for $2,000 to $5,000 out of pocket on a $12,000 to $18,000 project. States with moderate heat pump rebates $1,000 to $5,000. These 15 states offer meaningful rebates, typically through utility programs, state energy offices, or approved, but not yet launched here programs. The amounts are helpful, but generally will not cover a large share of installation costs. Some of these states will move into the strong tier once they're here or homes programs launch. State status rebate range. Primary program notes. New Hampshire $250 to $1,900 per ton NH saves plus NE accelerator, here approved expected in the middle of the summer 2026, are 410A banned from qualified list. Oregon $800 to $3,500 plus Energy Trust of Oregon RETC state tax credit adds value, here launched 2025. Connecticut $250 to $1,000 per ton Energize CT Smart e-loan at 0.99% APR through March 2026, here funded, but not available. Minnesota up to $2,600 XL plus Centerpoint Save Energy MN, here, plus $4,000 state rebate, has not launched. Nevada $510 to $3,400 NV Energy Power Shift first come first served, here homes approved, but not launched. New Mexico up to $8,000 here plus geothermal credit, here restricted to greater than or equal to 80% AMI only. PNM adds $550 to $700. Delaware $800 to $2,200 Energize Delaware HPWES program DMEC customers can stack efficiency smart rebates. Utah $2,450 to $2,650 RMP plus Enbridge stack. What Smart plus Therm Wise dual fuel stack, here homes not launched. Kentucky $500 to $3,000 TVA Energy Right plus EKPC cooperatives offer $1,000 cold climate bonus, here approved, but not launched. Pennsylvania $350 to $1,950 Act 129 utility rebates Act 129 phase 4 expiring May 2026. PIN Energy Savers $258 million not launched. Virginia up to $2,000 Washington Gas Nova only $188 million IRA funding pending, most areas limited to small utility rebates. Missouri $200 to $5,000 Ameren plus Evergy plus Columbia W and El No statewide program. Ameren offers $2,000 for duct ASHBs. Hawaii $450 to $700 Hawaii Energy e-Hail, here expected 2026. KIUC offers separate $500 HBWH on Kauai. Louisiana up to $3,500 SWEPCO plus Cleco SWEPCO Strongest Energy only $500, here homes not launched. Illinois up to $2,000 ComEd plus Ameren Utility only, here and homes still pending launch. Watch these states. New Hampshire, Connecticut, Nevada, and Pennsylvania all have approved IRA funding that has not launched yet. When those programs go live, rebates in those states could jump by $4,000 to $8,000. Check individual state guides for the latest status. States with limited or no heat pump rebates. These 20 states have sparse incentives, typically utility-only programs with modest amounts or no active programs at all. A few, South Dakota, Idaho, have declined IRA rebate funding entirely for homeowners in these states. The math depends almost entirely on energy savings rather than upfront rebates. State status rebate range. Primary program notes. Texas varies widely utility by utility, no statewide program. Austin Energy, best approximately $3,000, $690 million IRA not launched. California utility only SMUD Ladue Tech and here a single family exhausted statewide utility rebates remain. Tennessee $500 to $1,500 TVA Energy Right TVA only active incentive, here homes expected Q3 2026. Alabama $500 to $1,500 TVA plus Alabama Power Northern AL gets TVA rebates. Alabama Power $1,000 gas to electric. South Carolina $300 to $1,000 Duke plus Dominion plus Santee Cooper geothermal credit 25% up to $3,500, here homes pending. Iowa $300 to $713 Mid-American plus Alliant cold climate models get top tier $121 million IRA not launched. Montana $450 to $1,560 Northwestern plus BPA cooperatives. Bozeman and Missoula offer local HBWH rebates, here homes paused. Wyoming $500 to $1,700 RMP what Smart plus cooperatives HESB $69 million not launched. Several cooperatives offer $500 to $1,800. North Dakota $300 to $2,000 Ottertail plus Excel DXL $1,600 to $2,000 flat rate MDU offers nothing, here homes not launched. Florida $40 to $1,150 FPL Duke Tico $346 million IRA not launched. Utility rebates range from almost nothing to modest. Ohio almost none. ECO Link loans only. HB6 gutted utility programs $249 million IRA not launched. ECO Link offers rate reduction. Idaho $400 to $800 Idaho Power plus Avista rejected IRA, here homes rebates. Utility rebates are all that remain. South Dakota $0 to $4,000 plus varies by utility opted out of IRA rebates $68.5 million declined. Ottertail customers fare best. Alaska limited utility-specific high heating costs, but sparse utility programs, here homes status varies. Arkansas limited utility-specific Energy Arkansas and cooperatives offer modest rebates, here homes pending. Kansas limited utility-specific Evergy and municipal utilities offer small rebates, here homes pending. Mississippi limited TVA plus utility-specific TVA Energy Right in Northern MS limited programs elsewhere. Nebraska limited OPPD plus public power districts offer varying rebates, here homes pending. Oklahoma limited OG and E plus PSO utility rebates are the primary incentive, here homes pending. West Virginia limited utility-specific Appalachian Power and Mon Power offer modest rebates, here homes pending. Even in limited states, check your utility rebate availability often depends more on your electric utility than your state. In Texas, Austin Energy customers can get approximately $3,000. while most of the state gets nothing, and South Dakota Ottertail Power customers get $4,000 plus, while Northwestern Energy customers get $0. Always check with your specific utility before assuming nothing is available. What determines how much you can get heat pump rebates in 2026 depend on 4 factors. Understanding these helps explain why the same heat pump installation might cost $4,000 out of pocket in Colorado, but $15,000 in Florida. Whether your state launched HERE or homes, this is the single biggest factor. States that have launched IRA-funded HERE programs offer up to $8,000 per heat pump for households below 150% AMI homes adds up to $4,000 to $10,000 for whole home projects. About a dozen states have active programs. The rest have approved funding sitting and used, some by choice, some waiting for federal approval. Your household income relative to AMI HERE, and many state programs use area median income AMI thresholds. Households below 80% AMI get the highest rebates, often 100% of cost. Households at 80 to 150% AMI get partial rebates. Above 150% AMI HERE does not apply. You are limited to utility rebates and state programs that do not income qualify. Your electric utility. The utility rebates range from $0 to $4,000 plus and vary dramatically even within the same state. In New York, Con Edison and National Grid offer very different amounts for the same equipment. Municipal utilities and rural electric cooperatives often have separate programs. Always check your specific utility for stacking rules. The best outcomes come from stacking multiple program layers. HERE plus utility plus state tax credit plus local municipal rebate. Most states allow stacking as long as total incentives do not exceed 100% of project cost. A few states restricted the stacking. Math is where the real value is. Check your state guide for specific scenarios. Common mistakes when searching for rebates. Assuming the federal credit still exists. Many websites and contractors still list the $2,000 federal tax credit section 25C as available. It is not. It ended December 31st, 2025. If someone tells you the credit is still available, they are wrong or out of date. Confusing here with the federal tax credit. HERE is a point of sale rebate administered by your state, not a tax credit you claim on your return. It also has income limits, 150% AMI. These are different programs with different rules. Starting work before checking HERE eligibility. In most states, HERE rebates must be applied for before installation begins. Projects started before your state's HERE program launches are not retroactively eligible. If HERE is coming soon to your state, it may be worth waiting. Alabama limited programs, Alaska limited programs, Arizona active programs, Arkansas limited programs, California limited programs, Colorado active programs, Connecticut active programs, Delaware active programs, Florida limited programs, Georgia active programs, Hawaii active programs, Idaho limited programs, Illinois active programs, Indiana active programs, Iowa limited programs, Kansas limited programs, Kentucky limited programs, Louisiana limited programs, Maine active programs, Maryland active programs, Massachusetts active programs, Michigan active programs, Minnesota active programs, Mississippi limited programs, Missouri limited programs, Montana limited programs, Nebraska limited programs, Nevada limited programs, New Hampshire active programs, New Jersey active programs, New Mexico limited programs, New York active programs, North Carolina active programs, North Dakota limited programs, Ohio limited programs, Oklahoma limited programs, Oregon active programs, Pennsylvania limited programs, Rhode Island active programs, South Carolina limited programs, South Dakota limited programs, Tennessee limited programs, Texas limited programs, Utah limited programs, Vermont active programs, Virginia limited programs, Washington active programs, Washington, D.C. active programs, West Virginia limited programs, Wisconsin active programs, Wyoming limited programs. What about home batteries? If you are considering a heat pump, you may also be weighing home battery storage, especially in states with time of use rates or net metering. The federal battery tax credit section 25D also expired at the end of 2025, which changes the economics significantly. Are home batteries worth it in 2026? Frequently asked questions: which states have the best heat pump rebates in 2026? New York, Maryland, Rhode Island, Colorado, Wisconsin, and Michigan offer the strongest heat pump rebates in 2026, with programs reaching $8,000 to $24,000 for qualifying households. These states have active IRA-funded HERE or homes programs stacking with utility rebates. Are federal heat pump tax credits still available in 2026? No federal heat pump tax credits under Sections 25C and 25D expired on December 31st, 2025. They were repealed by the One Big Beautiful Bill Act signed July 4th, 2025. No federal tax credit is available for heat pumps installed in 2026. What is the HERE program, and which states have it? HERE Home Electrification and Appliance Rebates is a federally funded state-administered rebate program offering up to $8,000 per heat pump for income-qualifying households below 150% of area median income. As of March 2026, about a dozen states have launched HERE programs, including Colorado, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, Georgia, Indiana, Arizona, and Washington. Many other states have received funding but have not launched consumer-facing programs. Can you stack heat pump rebates from different programs? In most states, yes, utility rebates, state programs, and IRA-funded HERE or homes rebates can typically stack. The rules vary by state. Some states like Colorado and Wisconsin explicitly allow stacking all three layers. The main restriction is that total incentives generally cannot exceed 100% of project cost. Check your specific state guide for stacking rules. How much do heat pump rebates actually reduce the cost? For a typical duct heat pump system costing $12,000 to $18,000, installed rebates in strong states can cover $5,000 to $10,000 or more. Income qualified households below 80% AMI in states with active HERE programs can sometimes get systems for $2,000 to $5,000 out of pocket. In limited states, expect $500 to $2,000 off at most. See also all state heat pump incentives hub page. Federal heat pump tax credits ended. Full explainer. Are home batteries worth it in 2026? Why heat pump rebates vary so much by state. The gap between a $24,000 rebate package in New York and almost nothing in Ohio is not random. 4 structural factors drive the differences. Utility regulation model. States with strong public utility commissions, New York, Maryland, Massachusetts, can mandate that utilities fund energy efficiency programs through ratepayer charges. Deregulated states like Texas and Ohio leave incentive decisions to individual utilities. creating a patchwork where one utility territory has rebates and the next has none-state climate policy states with aggressive decarbonization goals. New York's Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, Colorado's GHG pollution reduction roadmap dedicate state funding to electrification states. Without those commitments, rely entirely on IRA federal funding, which many have been slow to deploy IRA. Deployment speed: every state received IRA here and homes funding allocations, but states had to apply to the Department of Energy, build administrative infrastructure, and select program administrators. Some: Wisconsin, Colorado, North Carolina, moved fast. Others: Florida, Texas, Ohio, have not launched programs despite receiving hundreds of millions. A few: South Dakota, Idaho, declined the money outright. Heating fuel mix states, where homes primarily heat with oil or propane: Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, tend to have stronger heat pump programs. Because the economics of switching are clearer, states where natural gas is cheap and dominant: Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, have less political and economic incentive to fund electrification programs. Webisode 57DHYAFZZFLWEFAB. January 11, 2026. Congress is racing to undo thousands of cuts to federal science programs. Cartoon 1 of 5. Congress is racing to undo thousands of cuts to federal science programs. Cell 1. The current government bid for an overall cut in scientific funding to $154 billion from $198 billion would be a plunge of 22%. Cell 2. This week, the Senate Appropriations Committee released a bipartisan package of bills. Cell 3 that largely scraps the current government-planned cuts to federal science programs. Cell 4. Congress will set aside roughly $188 billion for federal research. Cartoon 2 of 5. Congress is racing to undo thousands of cuts to federal science programs. Cell 1. $188 billion for federal research will only be a drop of 4%. Cell 2. This rejects the current government push to let our competitors do laps around us. Cell 3. Last year, the current government administration called for a cut in federal basic research of more than 1/3. Cell 4. The current government sought even larger cuts for the National Science Foundation, which sponsors much of the nation's basic research. Cartoon 3 of 5. Congress is racing to undo thousands of cuts to federal science programs. Cell 1. The current government proposed that the National Science Foundation NSF budget be slashed to $3.9 billion. Cell 2. From $8.8 billion, a drop of 56%. Cell 3. The Senate package countered with a reduction to $8.75 billion. Cell 4. Or less than 1%. Cartoon 4 of 5. Congress is racing to undo thousands of cuts to federal science programs. Cell 1. The Senate package includes $24.4 billion for NASA, a 1.6% cut. Cell 2. $8.8 billion for the Environmental Protection Agency (EPA), a 4% cut. Cell 3. $8.4 billion for the Department of Energy Office of Science, a 1.9% increase. Cell 4. $6.2 billion for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, roughly flat. Cartoon 5 of 5. Congress is racing to undo thousands of cuts to federal science programs. Cell 1. The Senate and the House are now not far apart for negotiations on a final budget. Cell 2. The House's moves on 2026 science budgeting add up to $185 billion, which is close to the Senate figure of $188 billion. Cell 3. But this cannot undo the damage that the current government administration frenzy of budget cutting and administrative chaos. Cell 4 brought to the nation's scientific establishment.
Webisode 57DHYAFZZFLWEFAB. January 11, 2025. If science funds are restored, then fund alternatives to wood burning. Cartoon 1 of 5. If science funds are restored, then fund alternatives to wood burning. Cell 1. Fund heat pumps that work down to 40 degrees below zero and also act as air conditioners. Cell 2. Fund extending a smart electric grid everywhere, including all rural areas. Cell 3. Fund wind and solar energy sources that produce electricity sent to the smart grid. Cell 4. Fund batteries that store the electricity produced by wind and solar long-term for use in emergencies. Cartoon 2 of 5. If science funds are restored, then cut dirty energy that is now funded. Cell 1. Cut funds for biofuels such as wood stoves and wood burning for home heating. Cell 2. Cut funds for biofuels such as corn-based ethanol for automobile fuel. Cell 3. Cut funds for wood and other biofuels used to replace coal burning in industrial plants. Cell 4. Cut funds for fossil fuels as well as cut funds for biofuels. Cartoon 3 of 5 If science funds are restored, enact regulations that fund removal of indoor residential wood-burning appliances. Cell 1 fund resident-owned Purple Air PM 2.5 monitors. Cell 2 given free to any near neighbor of an indoor residential wood burner. Cell 3 whose wood-burning PM 2.5 emissions enter the yard of the near neighbor and sicken them. Cell 4 use the data downloadable from the Purple Air map as evidence to shut down each indoor residential wood-burning appliance, one appliance at a time if necessary. Cartoon 4 of 5 If science funds are restored, enact regulations that make electric vehicles and public transport affordable. Cell 1 reinstate rebates for electric vehicles. Cell 2 fund high-speed electric transport that will be low cost to all. Cell 3 enact fuel regulations to discourage production of gas-powered vehicles. Cell 4 fund research that makes production of electric vehicles efficient and cost-effective. Cartoon 5 of 5 If science funds are restored, enact regulations that make home heating and transport by electric vehicle affordable. Cell 1 do not allow subsidies for luxury electric vehicles. Cell 2 do not allow subsidies for home heating for individuals making over a certain salary. Cell 3 tax the rich to provide clean energy subsidies for the middle income and poor. Cell 4 keep in mind that the Energy Department and the EPA should work to stop air pollution that harms human health as well as slow climate change.
Webisode 57DHYAFZZFLWEFAB January 4, 2026 Would smoke affect the family adversely? Cartoon 1 of 2 Cell 1 When you know you are not protecting your family well enough. When you replace air filters and air purifiers every month instead of every 6 months. Just do not burn wood indoors residentially to begin with. Cell 2 When you are scared whenever someone opens a window. Just do not burn wood indoors residentially to begin with. Cartoon 2 of 2 Cell 1 It gives me no great joy to say this. Smog towers do not work. Cell 2 Carbon capture does not work. Just do not burn wood industrially in place of coal to begin with.
Red Green Fox here. The quick Red Green Fox jumped over the barriers to clean air. Red Green Fox here. Ready to sing to you the names of the 2025 major wood-burning biomass industry subsidy opponents. 1 Biofuel Watch. 2 Bulkley Valley Stewardship Coalition of British Columbia, Canada. 3 Comite Schoen Lucht, which means Beautiful Air Committee in German. 4 Dogwood Alliance. 5 Equity Group Foundation, nicknamed EGF. 6 Environmental Paper Network, nicknamed EPN. 7 Natural Resources Defense Council, nicknamed NRDC. 8 Prakaunia Narzexwisistki, which means Workshop for All Beings in Polish. 9 Rachel Carson Council. 10 Solutions for Our Climate, nicknamed SFOC.
Cat's corner strategy with Tiger and Leone. Saying the quiet part out loud. Roar. Hi, I am Tiger. Our human asked us to get up from our naps and start Cat's corner strategy with Tiger and Leone. She gave us a list of internet allies which we will post for her here.
Hi, I am Leone. It is better for your mental fitness to go to these websites than to go to bro sites for advice. Substack letters from an American Heather Cox Richardson. Substack your local epidemiologist. The Midas Touch. The Guardian. The New York Times.
One introduction. RAWSEP View. The United States government was on track in the Biden administration to reduce the prices for both clean energy heat pumps and clean energy electric cars. Trump tariffs are expected to upset those plans to prevent future air pollution and prevent climate change. The United States government should, instead of certifying wood stoves as safe when they are not safe, go forward with regulations that ban wood stove use and direct government money for use of forest refuse only for home building and furniture building. For just a few examples of use of forest products for non-burning uses, it is well known from scientific and medical research that wood burning is a substantial source of PM 2.5 emissions, yet the wood burning industry uses the scientifically debunked theory named carbon neutrality of wood burning to argue that wood burning replacing coal burning in industry, and in a trickle-down argument that wood burning should continue for home heating should continue. Presumably because it is called renewable, wood may be renewable in the sense that a tree can be planted in the place of a cut-down burned tree. But it takes centuries or decades for the newly planted tree to attain the stature of the cut-down burned tree. During those centuries or decades, photosynthesis, which converts CO2 to oxygen, and so sequesters some carbon, will not take place at the same rate as photosynthesis was performed previously, and wood burning emits both CO2 and PM 2.5, and PM 2.5 is not absorbed by trees, so PM 2.5 is not diminished by planting a tree in the place of a cut-down and burned tree. In fact, a living tree closes its pores against the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as humans hold their breath in the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning. And when a tree closes its pores, the level of photosynthesis that absorbs CO2 pollution goes down. Wood burning emits 90% PM2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lung, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Contrary to many beliefs, wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM2.5 as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Replacing coal burning with wood burning creates more air pollution in the form of CO2 and PM2.5 than coal burning. This emission data comes from testing the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom, the Eco-Design Wood Stove. An international convention does not count the emissions from wood burning. The emissions from wood burning are erased from all countries around the world when calculating if each country has met its climate goals. This non-counting or erasure of wood burning emissions data from climate goals does not mean wood burning emissions do not exist. RAWSEP View Purple Air PM2.5 monitors hanging from the eaves of the house of a near neighbor should be used to measure the level of PM2.5 in the air hyperlocally in the yards of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners. If PM2.5 levels exceed World Health Organization standards of 5 micrograms per cubic meter annually, then that evidence of air pollution from wood burning should lead to the shutdown of that indoor residential wood burning appliance, one appliance at a time if necessary.